Hello everyone, here is Afra Siab. Today we are going to solve Cambridge IGCSE Physics Paper 2, Multiple Choice Extended, held on May-June 2019 and paper code is 0625 with variant 21. So let's start from question number 1. Question number 1. Which quantity can be measured directly by using a micrometer screw gauge? Option A, the area of the sheet of paper. B, the mass of a sheet of paper. C, the thickness of the sheet of paper. D, the volume of the sheet of paper. So basically the micrometer screw gauge is used for the measurement of the thickness of a sheet of paper. So option C is correct. Question number 2. The velocity of the object increases from 30 meter per second to 50 meter per second in 5.0 seconds. What is the average acceleration of the object? So here we have to find out the acceleration. We know that acceleration is equal to delta V over T and it is V minus U over T. Final velocity is 50 minus initial velocity is 30 divided by time is 5.0. So the value of acceleration will be equal to 20 over 5.0 which is equal to 4.0 meter per second square. So from here option C is correct. Question number 3. A heavy metal ball falls vertically downwards through the air past 4 equally spaced levels J, K, L and M. There is a ball that is falling vertically downward and the 4 levels are shown. Level J, K, L and M. The time taken to fall from one level to the next are measured. Where is the speed of the ball greatest and which time is shortest? So first of all, when the ball falls vertically downwards, its speed goes on increases. At the end, from level L to M, the speed is largest. We know that speed is distance over time. When the speed is larger, it means that body covers large distance in small interval of time. So that from level L to M, the time is shorter but the speed is largest. Now we see the options. Speed is greatest between, time is shortest between. Different levels are shown. From here in the D option, L and M levels are shown. So option D is correct. Question number 4. A body is moved from place X to the place Y where the gravitational field strength is different. It means that the value of G is different. What happens to its mass and its weight due to the move? Mass and weight is given. What will be the effect on the mass and the weight when the body is moved from the place X to Y where the value of G is different? We know that weight is the product of mass and acceleration due to gravity R, which is the gravitational field strength. So when the value of G is different, the weight will be different. Weight changes but the value of mass remains same. Now we see the options. Option A, changes. Option A, changes. B, changes, stay the same but the weight changes. So option B is incorrect. C, mass stay the same and weight changes. So this option is correct. Question number 5. The diagram shows 4 solid blocks with their dimensions and masses. Which block has the greatest density? So which one of the following block has the greatest density? We know that density is equal to mass over volume. So we find out the density for each of these blocks and see whether which one of the following has the largest. So I write here density for the object A. It is mass, which is given 14 gram, divided by volume. Volume will be the multiplication of area and height. So it will be 10 multiplied by 2.0. So that density will be equal to 0.79 and unit is gram per cubic centimeter. For the block B, density will be 48 divided by 20 multiplied by 2.0. 20 centimeter square is basically area and 2.0 centimeter is height. So that the density for the block B will be equal to 1.2 gram per cubic centimeter. For the block C, density is equal to 54 gram, which is mass, divided by 10 and 2.0. So density is equal to 2.7 gram per cubic centimeter. For the object D, it will be 68 divided by 20 multiplied by 2.0. So the density for the object D is equal to 1.7 gram per cubic centimeter. Now we see the values of density. Here it is 0.79, 1.2, 2.7 and 1.7. Only the object C has the largest density. So C is correct. Question number 6. A student wishes to determine the spring constant of a spring where it obeys Hooke's law. Different loads are hung from the spring and its length is measured for each different load. The table shows the result of the experiment. The weight of the load is Newton and the length of spring is in centimeter. First of all, weight is 0 and the length of spring is 12. Then weight increases. The length of the spring also increases. What is the value of the spring constant of the spring? Here we have to find out the spring constant. I write here Hooke's law, F is equal to Kx, where F is the weight, K is spring constant and X is the length. So K will be equal to F over X. I take any 2 point, I suppose I take, so I write here weight will be 4.0 minus 2.0 divided by the value of X is 28 and here it is 20. 28 minus 20. So the spring constant K will be equal to 0.25. Unit is Newton over centimeter. So from here option D is correct. Question number 7. A mass of 20 kg is held stationary by a rope passing over a frictionless pulley. There is a mass 20 kg and it is attached with the rope which is passed over the frictionless pulley. What is the tension in the rope? So here tension is in upward direction while the mass is attached in downward direction. First of all, I find out the weight, which is the product of mass and value of G. Mass is 20 multiplied by 10, so it is equal to 200 Newton. The weight is equal to 200 Newton. It is given that the tension is acting in upward direction and the mass is stationary. It is only stationary when the weight is equal to tension. So it will be 200 Newton. It means that the tension in rope is equal to 200 Newton. So option D is correct. Question number 8. A boat starts moving across a river at a velocity v perpendicular to the river bank. The boat encounters a current along the river of velocity u as shown. Which diagram shows the resultant velocity r of the boat? So first of all, it is given that v is vertically downward while the u is rightwards. Now if I see the diagram, u is given rightward, it is the correct, but v is given also vertically downward, but the rule that held here, it is incorrect. According to head to tail rule, the tail of the second vector, which is v, it will be at the head of the first vector. The vector v will be at this position. So option A is incorrect. We see the option B. It is also incorrect because v should be here. Option C, u is given rightward and the tail of the second vector also coincides with the head of the first vector, which is u. The direction of the resultant is from the tail of the first vector toward the head of the last vector, which is also correct. So C option is correct. In the option D, the direction of the resultant is changed, so it is incorrect. Only the correct option is C. Question number 9. A ball of mass 0.50 kilogram falls and hits the floor at 10 meter per second. It rebounds at a speed of 8.0 meter per second as shown. The collision between the ball and the floor lasts for 0.50 seconds. What is the average force acting on the ball during the collision? Here we have to find out the average force. I use the concept that impulse is equal to change of momentum and it is also be equal to the product of force and time. From here, force will be equal to change of momentum over time and it is v minus u over t, because momentum is the product of mass and speed. So the change in momentum will be the product of mass and change in speed. Now I am going to put values here. Mass is given 0.50 multiplied by velocity. After collision, here it is 8 minus before collision the speed is 10 meter per second, but the direction is opposite. That's why I write here minus 10. Divided by time is given 0.50 seconds. So the force will be equal to 0.50 multiplied by 18 divided by 0.50. So force is equal to 18 Newton. We have find out the magnitude of the force. So from the options, option C or D is correct. So the magnitude of force is equal to 18 Newton, but we also have to find out direction, in which direction the force acts. So the direction of force will be same as that of the direction of momentum, and the direction of momentum is towards the direction of velocity. So after the collision, the velocity is upward, due to which the force is also acting in upward direction. The option C is correct. Question number 10. An object falls from the top of the building that is 25 meter high. Air resistance is negligible. What is the speed of the object when it hits the ground? First of all, we have object and it is dropped from the height of 25 meter. It loses its gravitational potential energy because the potential energy is associated with the height, and all of the potential energy that it lost converted into the kinetic energy. So I use here the concept of loss of potential energy is equal to gain of kinetic energy. Gain of kinetic energy, and the potential energy is mgh while the kinetic energy is half mv square. The mass cancels with mass, so v is equal to square root 2gh. Now I am going to put values. 2 multiplied by 10 and height is 25 meter, so that the value of v will be equal to 22 meter per second. From here, option B is correct. Question number 11. A machine is very efficient. What does this mean? Option A. It produces a large amount of power. B. It uses very little energy. C. It wastes very little energy. D. It works very quickly. The machine is efficient. It means that output power is equal to input power, or the output energy is equal to input energy. there is very small wastage of energy. So option C is correct. Question number 12. A crane takes 2.0 minutes to lift a load to the top of building. The change in gravitational potential energy of the load is 360 kilojoule. What is the useful power output of the crane? So here we have to find out power when the time and energy is given. So I write here power is equal to rate of transfer of energy, that is E over T. Energy is given 360 kilojoule. So also I multiply it with 1000 divided by time is 2.0 multiply by, I have to convert the time into second. So I multiply it with 60 so that power will be equal to 3000 watt, which is also equal to 3.0 kilowatt. So option A is correct. Question number 13. The diagram shows a stone suspended on a string under the surface of the liquid. This stone experiences a pressure caused by the liquid. What would increase the pressure of the stone? So here we have to increase the pressure. What we will do? Option A, decreasing the surface area of the stone. B, increasing the mass of the stone. C, lowering the stone deeper into the liquid. D, using a liquid with a lower density. So first of all, we know that the pressure in a liquid is equal to rho GH, where rho is density, G is gravitational field strength and H is the height. When I lower this stone, it might be at this position. So the height increases. With the increase in height, the pressure also increases because pressure is directly proportional to height. It means that I have to lower the stone deeper into the liquid. So option C is correct. Question number 14. A stationary smoke particle is hit by a fast moving nitrogen molecule. Which row describes the motion of the smoke particle and of the nitrogen molecule after the collision? First of all, we have stationary smoke particle and there is also the nitrogen molecule which is moving very fast. When both of these collide, what happens? The smoke particle also start to move and the nitrogen molecule rebounds back. Now we see the option. Smoke particles, nitrogen molecule. Option A, moves, rebound. B, moves, stop. C, remains stationary, rebound. D, remains stationary, stops. So the smoke particle move and the nitrogen rebound back. So option A is correct. Question number 15. A night storage heater contains a large block of material that is heated electrically during the night. During the day, the block cools down, releasing the thermal energy into the room. Which thermal capacity and which nighttime temperature increase will cause the most energy to be stored in the block? So first of all, the temperature of the night should be larger to heat glass block strongly, and the specific heat capacity should be larger because it will make the capacity of containing the heat of the block high. Now we see the options. Thermal capacity of the block and night time temperature increase. Option A, large, large. B, large, small. C, small, large. Option D, small and small. Now the temperature of the night should be large and also the thermal capacity of the block should be large. So option A is correct. Question number 16. 100 gram of water at 25 degrees C is poured into an insulating cup. 50 gram of ice at 0 degrees is added to the water. The water is stirred until the temperature of the water has fallen to 0 degrees C. 18 gram of ice remains unmelted. The specific heat capacity of the water is 4.2 joule per gram per degree C. Which value does this experiment give for the specific latent heat of fusion of ice? Basically here we have to find out the value of specific latent heat of fusion of ice. I use here the concept that heat lost by the water molecule will be equal to the heat that is required for the latent heat of fusion of ice. So I write here energy required or heat required for latent heat of fusion of ice, it will be equal to heat or energy lost by water. Now I am going to put values here. The energy required for the latent heat of fusion of ice will be equal to L steam and mass of steam, which is equal to specific heat capacity for water, mass of water and change in temperature. This will be equal to mass is 50 gram minus 18 gram because 18 gram of ice remains unmelted. So mass will be 50 minus 18 gram and the specific heat capacity for the water is given 4.2 multiplied by the mass of water is 100 gram and change in temperature is from 25 degree C to 0 degree C. So it will be 25 minus 0. So the value of the specific latent heat of fusion of ice will be equal to 328.15 joule per gram and it is also equal to 330 joule per gram. Now we see the options. Option A 210 joule per gram, B 330 joule per gram. So B option is correct. Question number 17. In which does thermal conduction not occur? A gas, B, a liquid, C, a solid and D, a vacuum. In which one of the following the thermal conduction does not occur? So it is the vacuum. Option D is correct. Question number 18. The metal surface of a kettle is hot. What happens to the cool air outside the kettle when it comes into contact with the hot kettle? Option A. The density of the air decreases and the air falls. B. The density of the air decreases and the air rises. C. The density of the air increases and the air falls. D. The density of the air increases and the air falls. First of all, there is hot kettle. The temperature of this kettle is very high as compared to the surrounding because here surrounding is filled with the cool air. So when the heat comes out of this kettle into the environment, then the temperature changes. The temperature of the surrounding increase, due to which the density of the air decrease and the air rise up. So from here option B is correct, which shows that the density of the air decreases and the air rises. Question number 19. Some hot water is sealed inside a metal can. The can is in vacuum in outer space. The hot water slowly cools down. How does the thermal energy escape into the space? Option A. By conduction and then by convection. B. By conduction then radiation. C. By evaporation then convection. D. By evaporation then radiation. So basically the thermal energy escape into the space by the conduction and then radiation. So from here option B is correct. Question number 20. When the water waves pass through a gap, they diffract. The diagram shows the wavefronts approaching a narrow gap. In which diagram will the diffraction be least? There are 4 diagrams shown. First of all, we consider A. The distance between the two wavefront is equal to wavelength, and this is the separation between the barrier. If the separation between the barrier is smaller as compared to the wavelength, then there will be large diffraction, which is the case given in option A, that the separation D between the barrier is smaller as compared to the wavelength, so there will be greater diffraction. Consider option B. Here again the wavelength is lambda and the separation is D. D is smaller as compared to wavelength, so again there will be greater diffraction. Option C. The wavelength is lambda, again the separation is D, but here the separation is larger as compared to wavelength. When this condition happens, then there will be less diffraction. Option D. Again the wavelength is lambda and separation is D. Here the separation is larger as compared to the wavelength, but the wavelength in the option D is very large as compared to the wavelength given in C. So there will be less diffraction, but in this case the diffraction is more as compared to the option C. So only C option is correct. Question number 21. An object is placed 30 cm in front of the mirror, that is plane mirror. Which statement describes the image of the object? First of all, we have plane mirror here, and the object is placed at a distance of 30 cm. I suppose that this distance is 30 cm and this is the object. The image is the same size and 30 cm from the object. Option B. The image is same size and 60 cm from the object. Option C. The image is smaller and 30 cm from the object. Option D. The image is smaller and 60 cm from the object. The image formed by the plane mirror is of same size as that of the object. The size of image should be equal to the size of object in the case of plane mirror. So, the image will be formed on the other side but at the same distance. This is the image I, and this is again distance 30 cm. But here we are given the distance from the object. It means that distance from the object and image. This distance will be equal to 30 plus 30, which is equal to 60 cm. It means that image is same size, distance from the object is 60 cm. So option B is correct. Question number 22. An object O is placed near a converging lens as shown. The lens forms an image I. Which statement is correct? Option A. The image I is diminished. B. The image is inverted. C. The image I is real. D. The object O is closer to the lens than its principal focus. Now we see here the object is at this position while the image is here. The principal focus is a point, like it might be here. So the object O, it is very close to the lens as compared to the principal focus. So option D is correct. Question number 23. An eclipse of the sun happens when the moon comes between the earth and the sun. Which statement is correct? Option A. Infrared radiation from the sun disappears before visible light and ultraviolet radiation. Option B. Ultraviolet radiation from the sun disappears before the visible light and the infrared radiation. Option C. Visible light from the sun disappears before the ultraviolet radiation and the infrared radiation. Option D. The infrared radiation, ultraviolet radiation and the visible light from the sun all disappears at the same time. So all of these radiation disappears at the same time. So option D is correct. Question number 24. A pulse of sound is produced at the bottom of a boat. The sound travels through the water and it is reflected from the shoal of fish. The sound reaches the boat again after 1.2 seconds. The speed of sound in the water is 1500 meter per second. How far below the bottom of the boat is the shoal of fish? Basically here we have to find out the distance. First of all, the sound wave comes here and then it is reflected back. And here will be the process of echo. We know that V is equal to distance over time, but in the echo, the distance will be double. So I write here 2d over t. We have to find out distance. It will be equal to Vt over 2. The speed is given, that is 1500, multiplied by time is 1.2 second divided by 2. So distance will be equal to 900 meter. Option B is correct. Question number 25. What is the approximate value of the speed of sound in the air at normal temperature? Option A. 340 meter per second. B. 34,000 meter per second. C. 340 kilometer per second. D. 3.0 into 10 की power 8 meter per second. So the speed of sound in the air at normal temperature is 340 meter per second. Option A is correct. Question number 26. Why is soft iron used for the core of electromagnet? Option A. Soft iron easily becomes a permanent magnet. B. Soft iron is a good electrical conductor. C. Soft iron is a poor thermal conductor. D. Soft iron loses its magnetism when the current in the coil switched off. So option D is correct, because when the current is flowing through the coil, then the soft iron has magnetization. But when the current is switched off, there is no magnetization of the soft iron. So option D is correct. Question number 27. Diagram 1 shows two thin uncharged strips of plastic. Diagram 2 shows the same strips after they have been rubbed with a dry cloth. Here is diagram 1 and there are two strips of plastic. In diagram 2, when these strips are rubbed with the dry cloth, then the position of the strips of plastic are shown in diagram 2. Which row describes the charge on the strips after rubbing and the force between the strips after rubbing? First of all, we see the diagram 2. Both of these plastic strips are moving apart from each other. There is a distance between them. First of all, the distance between these strips is this, but now the distance has increased. It means that these strips move further apart from each other. There will be the repulsion. So the force will be repulsive, and we know that similar charges repel each other while the opposite charges attract each other. Here will be same charges and the force will be repulsive. Now we see the options. Charge on the strip and the force between strips. Option A, opposite attraction. So this is incorrect because the charges are same. Option B, opposite repulsion. So this is also incorrect because of the opposition. C, the same and attraction. The option C is also correct because there is a repulsion, not the attraction. Option D, the same and repulsion. So option D is correct. Question number 28. A cell has an electromotive force EMF of 1.5 volt. What does this statement mean? Option A. The cell converts 1.0 joule of energy when driving 1.5 coulomb of charge round a complete circuit. B. The cell converts 1.5 joule of energy when driving 1.0 coulomb of the charge around a complete circuit. C. The cell converts 1.5 joule of energy per second when driving 1.0 coulomb of the charge round a complete circuit. D. The cell converts 1.5 watt of power when driving 1.0 coulomb of charge around a complete circuit. We know that electromotive force is equal to energy over charge. Here it is given that EMF is 1.5 volt. 1.5 volt will be equal to, the unit of energy is joule and the charge is measured in coulomb. Here will be 1.5. It means that the cell converts 1.5 joule of energy when driving 1.0 coulomb of charge around the complete circuit. So option B is correct. Question number 29. Which two changes to a metal wire both increase resistance? Here we have to increase the resistance. Option A. Decreasing its length and increasing its temperature. B. Increasing its length and decreasing its temperature. C. Decreasing its thickness and increases its temperature. D. Increasing its thickness and decreasing its temperature. We know that resistance R is equal to resistivity length over area. When we have to increase the resistance, we have to increase the length because resistance is directly proportional to length. In the first option, it is given that we have to decrease the length. So this is incorrect. Now we see the option B, increasing its length. Here when we increase the length, resistance also increase. It is correct, and decreasing its temperature. So we have to increase the temperature also in order to increase the resistance of the metal. So this option is also incorrect because of the second part. Option C, decreasing its thickness. Now we talk about the thickness. Here resistance is inversely proportional to area. When the thickness decrease, the resistance increase. So this is correct, and increasing its temperature. We can also increase the resistance by increasing temperature. Option C is correct. Question number 30. The diagram shows a circuit containing a DC power supply, a motor and a variable resistor. Three emitters X, Y and Z show the current in different parts of the circuit. The reading on the X is 4.0 ampere. Which statement is correct? Option A. The reading on the Y and Z are both less than 4.0 ampere. B. The reading on Y and Z are both equal to 4.0 ampere. C. The reading on Y and Z are both greater than 4.0 ampere. D. The reading on the Z is 0. First of all, we see the circuit. Here is power supply and three emitters are shown, X, Y and Z. We can see that all of these emitters are connected in series, and in the series, the value of the current remains same. It means that the total current will be equal to the current that is passing through the emitter X. It will be equal to the current passing through the emitter Y, which is equal to the current passing through the emitter Z, and the value of current is given, which is 4.0 ampere. It means that the value of the emitter Y and Z will be the same as that of the emitter X. Now we see the options. Option B is correct, which shows that the reading on Y and Z are both equal to 4.0 ampere. Question number 31. A lamp is to be connected in a circuit so that the potential difference across it can be varied from 0 to 6 volt. Which circuit would be most suitable? Here we can see 4 circuits are shown. In the circuit B, there is an arrow. Potential difference across the lamp can be varied easily by moving this arrow up and down. So when the arrow is at this position, potential difference will be different, but if the arrow is above, the potential difference also be changed. It means that we can vary the potential difference by moving this arrow up and down. So option B is correct. Question number 32. Which logic gate is represented by the symbol shown? Here is the symbol. For the logic gate, it consists of 2 inputs and single output. So this symbol is basically for the AND gate. Now we see the options. Option A, AND, B, NAND, C, NOR, D, OR. Option A is correct, which shows that it is AND gate. Question number 33. The diagram shows a combination of the logic gates. Which single logic gate is equivalent to this combination? We see here there are 2 inputs A and B and a single output X. This gate is OR gate while this is NOT gate. When we apply NOT gate over OR gate, we get NOR gate. Now we see the options. Option A, AND gate, B, NOR. So here is NOR gate in the option B. B is correct. Question number 34. An alternating current AC power supply is connected in series with the resistor R and a diode. Which graph shows how the voltage V across the resistor R varies with the time? First of all, we can see here there is a diode and also the power supply. The resistor is connected here and the potential difference across the resistor is V. We have to show that how the voltage across the resistor varies with the time. In the AC, current reverses its direction and allow the diode to flow the current in one direction only. When the diode is forward bias, it means that if I here consider the positive cycle, then here will be positive and here will be negative. If I consider the upper half cycle, which is positive, then it will pass through the diode. But when I consider the negative half cycle, this current is blocked by the diode because in this situation the diode is reverse bias. So when the direction of current reverses, the diode becomes reverse bias and block the current through it. So after every half of the cycle, there is a voltage across the resistor R, and every second half of the cycle there is no voltage across the resistor R. Now we see the options. Option A, here we can see that there is a complete sinusoidal wave. When half of the cycle pass, again the sinusoidal wave shown. So it means option A is incorrect. Now we see option B. This wave shows that the voltage is passing again and again. There is no blockage of current when the diode is reverse bias. Because when the diode is reverse bias, there is no current passing through the circuit. There is a straight line like this. So this is also incorrect. Option C. Here we can see that first of all diode conduct, which is shown by this shape. After that there is reverse biasing and there is no current passing through the circuit. So this option is correct, which shows that every half of the cycle there is the voltage across resistor R and every second half of the cycle there is no voltage across the resistor R. So option C is correct. Question number 35. An electric heater is plugged into the main supply using a fused plug. The current in the heater is 10 ampere. The cable attached to the heater is rated at 15 ampere. The fuses available are rated at 1 ampere, 3 ampere, 5 ampere and 13 ampere. Which fuse should be used? So the fuse rating should be larger as compared to the current passing through the heater. Here the current passing through the heater is 10 ampere. The fuse should be 13 ampere. Now we see the options. Option A 1 ampere, B 3 ampere, C 5 ampere, D 13 ampere. So option D is correct. The fuse rating should be higher as compared to the current. Question number 35. What is the purpose of the commutator in the DC electric motor? Option A. To control the speed at which the motor rotates. B. To reverse the direction of the voltage across the power supply after every half turn. C. To reverse the direction of the current in the motor coil every half turn. D. To reverse the direction of the spin of the motor coil every half turn. So option C is correct, which shows that the function of the commutator is to reverse the direction of the current in the motor coil every half turn. So I circle option C. Question number 37. The diagram shows a wire between two magnetic poles. The wire is connected in the circuit with an ammeter. There is a wire and it is connected with the ammeter. The wire is moved downwards towards the bottom of the page. A current is induced in the wire. In which direction is the force on the wire caused by this current? Option A. Towards the bottom of the page. B. Towards the left of the page. C. Towards the right of the page. D. Towards the top of the page. First of all, according to Lenz's law, EMF is induced in the wire such that it opposes the force that produces it. The force moved the wire in downward direction, so the induced EMF will be in upward direction. Accordingly, the force on the wire caused by this current moves the wire in the top of the page. So option D is correct. I circle option D. Question number 38. The chemical symbol for the sodium is Na. The equation represents the radioactive decay of the sodium 24. Here is sodium 24 and 11. It changes into magnesium with atomic number X and mass number 24 plus there is electron with atomic number -1 and mass number 0. What are the numbers X and Y? We have to find out the value of the X and Y. Here first of all, I check the atomic number and atomic mass on both sides of this arrow and find out the value of X and Y. So I write here atomic number on the left hand side, it is 11. It will be equal to X minus 1. So X will be equal to 11 plus 1, which is 12. Now we check the mass number. On the left hand side, mass number is 24. It will be equal to, here is also 24 plus Y. So Y will be equal to 0. It means that here is 0 and here is 12. Now we see the options. Option A 10, 0, B 10, 1, C 12, 0. So option C is correct. Question number 39. A radioactive source emits alpha particles, beta particles and gamma rays into a vacuum where there is a magnetic field. The magnetic field acts perpendicularly into the plane of the paper. The paths X, Y and Z of the three types of radiation through the magnetic field are shown. Which radiation follows path X, Y and Z? Here we see diagram. There are three particles, alpha particle, beta particle and gamma rays. We know that mass of the alpha particle is very large as compared to beta particle and gamma particle. I write here alpha, beta and gamma rays. First of all, the mass of alpha particle is very large as compared to beta particle, and the charge on alpha particle is positive 2. The charge on the beta particle is -1, while the charge on the gamma particle is 0. The gamma rays are neutral, they don't have any charge. So when the gamma rays are neutral, there will be no deflection in the magnetic field by the gamma rays. It means that the rays that is straight, it is actually the gamma rays. So Y is gamma rays. Other two are alpha and beta. The mass of the alpha is larger as compared to the mass of beta. It means that the radius of alpha particle is larger as compared to radius of beta particle because of their masses. When the radius is larger, there will be smaller deflection. It means that the deflection of alpha particle is less as compared to beta particle. So there will be larger deflection by the Z. It means that Z is beta particle while the X is alpha particle. Now we see the options. Option A, alpha particles, beta particles, gamma rays. This is incorrect because basically Y represents the gamma rays. Option B, alpha particles, gamma rays, beta particles. Now we see options. First of all, here is alpha, gamma and beta. Here is also alpha, gamma and beta. So option B is correct. Question number 40. A student measures the level of the radiation emitted from a radioactive substance. He places a detector very close to the substance. He puts different absorbers between the radioactive substance and the detector. First of all, in the diagram we can see that there is a radioactive substance and there is also the absorber. Next there is detector and the counter. The student's results are shown. These results are corrected for the background radiation. First of all, here is absorber, counter reading which is counts per minute. None 95, thin paper 52, few millimeter of aluminium sheet and here is 52 again. Several centimeter of lead 12. Which type of the radiation are being emitted by the substance? Option A, alpha particles and beta particles only. B, alpha particles and gamma rays only. C, beta particles and gamma rays only. D, alpha particles, beta particles and gamma rays. First of all, when there is a thin paper, the count rate decreases and it becomes 52. It means that alpha particles are present. Second, when we place few millimeter sheet of aluminium, the count rate remains same. It means that there is no beta particle. Because when here is beta particles, then the count rate reduced, but in this case the count rate remains same, so there is no beta particle. Several centimeter of length and again the count rate decreased and it becomes 12. Here is also the gamma rays present, due to which the count rate decrease. It means that alpha particle and gamma rays are present. So option B is correct, which shows that alpha particles and gamma rays only.